Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So this is the recording for our subject, public speaking, CPB1022. The topic for this time is topic number 4, ethics and public speaking. So among the objectives of this particular topic, I hope that at the end of the topic, you should be able to explain why a strong sense of ethical responsibility is important for public speakers. And then discuss the 5 guidelines for ethical speech making presented in this particular topic. And then define the differences among global plagiarism, patchwork plagiarism, and incremental plagiarism. And then explain why each type of plagiarism is unethical. Last but not least, identify the 3 basic guidelines for ethical listening discussed in this particular topic. So we need to know what is actually ethics. If this photo can represent ethics, and you can understand what is actually hidden in the meaning of this particular photo, you might get the idea of ethics. And then, what is it with this particular photo compared to the previous one, to this one? Is it still the same? The message of ethics is still the same? Yes. Okay, the answer is yes. Because in ethics, as simple as giving such information of or such idea that we hear no evil, we see no evil, we speak no evil, and we post no evil. So as simple as that, it reflects the meaning of ethics actually. However, let us look into what is actually the meaning of ethics based on the discussions of scholars. So ethics is the application of moral principles, standards of behavior, or set of values regarding proper conduct as individuals and in a group setting. Ethics allow you to distinguish the difference between right and also wrong. So those who gossip with you will gossip about you as well. Okay? So when we talk about public speaking, we need to try our best not to talk about others, the negative things about others, because we need to understand those who gossip with you will also gossip about you. Okay? Alright. And then according to Lucas, ethics is the branch of philosophy which deals with issues of right and wrong in human affairs. Inquiries on ethics arise whenever one asks either a course of action is moral or immoral, fair or unfair, just or unjust, honest or dishonest. So ethics deals with issues of right and wrong in any human affairs. So what are the importance of ethics? Questions of ethics also come into action whenever a public speaker faces an audience. A public speaker faces ethical issues at every stage of the speech-making process, from the initial decision to speak through the final presentation of the message. Hence, we need to make a sound ethical decisions in delivering speech by weighing potential course of action against ethical standards. So this is a kind of guidelines for ethical speaking according to Lucas and any other authors in public speaking. So number one, a good public speaker, an ethical public speaker, need to make ethically sound goals. Need to think of ethically sound goals in his speaking session or in his speech session. And then that particular public speaker must be fully prepared to convey good things, to think of good things first and then convey that particular good things. And then be honest with whatever he speak or whatever he share with the audience. And then number 4, avoid name calling or using abusive language towards the audience. And then the last one, put principles into practice. A person who try to deliver his speech must always stick himself to principles of delivering his messages through his speech. So you can read all these guidelines from Lucas' textbook, which I had shared with you in our goals system. Alright, I give some elaboration on each of the steps here. Okay, so in make ethically sound goals, so this is the first responsibility. Okay, so first responsibility as a speaker is to ask whether your goals are ethically sound. However, there is a gray area of ethical standard between us and public speakers. Between us as public speakers and the standard of the audience. I mean, how the audience can accept our standard of speech, our standard of contents, and so on. So the different types of audience will have different type of standards as well. Number 2, as a public speaker, we must always be fully prepared. As a public speaker, one need to know his obligation to himself and the audience in preparing himself fully every time he stands in front of the audience. The better the preparation, the better the speech will be, and the issue of ethics could be encountered easier. No matter what the topic, who the audience, where will the speech be conducted, explore the speech topic as thoroughly as possible. And then we need to investigate the whole area of the story, and we need to get the facts right. Number 3, try to be honest in our words. Public speaking rely on the connotation of words can be trusted. People will be truthful. Without such assumption, there is no basis for communication. No reason to believe any single messages depicted or said by others, especially by us, the public speaker. Number 4, yes, we need to avoid name calling. We need to avoid abusive language. Using language to defame, to demean, or degrade individuals or groups, we need to at our best avoid it in our speech session. Number 5, put ethical principle into practice. As a public speaker, we want to deliver information, we want to entertain, we want to persuade others, and we want to make people agree with our words or our stand. However, we need to assure that ethical principle will always be the guideline in our speech all the time. So Rasulullah SAW also talk about ethics, okay, when he said, a slave of Allah may utter a word which pleases Allah without giving it much importance. And because of that, Allah will raise him to degrees of reward A slave of Allah may utter a word carelessly which displeases Allah without thinking of its gravity, and because of that he will be thrown into the hellfire. So this is narrated by Al-Bukhari. Now we move on to the conception of plagiarism in public speaking. It is not only in writing, it's also plagiarism also related so much to public speaking. So what is plagiarism? So the root word of plagiarism is plagiarist or kidnapper. There you go. Kidnapping, kidnapping. And then presenting language ideas of another as one's own. So this is plagiarism, meniru secara tidak sah. So according to Lucas, there are 3 types of plagiarism: global, patchwork, and incremental. According to Lucas, global plagiarism is stealing from single source and passing off as one's own. Patchwork plagiarism means stealing ideas, language from 2 or 3 sources and then passing off as one's own. It means that we steal ideas from several sources and then we pass as it is ours. And then the third category of plagiarism is incremental plagiarism, failing to give credit for parts borrowed from other sources. So in today's scenario, with all this technology, the internet and so on, so when we talk about plagiarism and internet, so we tend to cite sources when using internet materials because it's so easy. We can browse in any website or any internet sources and then we just copy and paste. So in this particular sense, as a good public speaker, when we want to take any sources of the internet, it is not a sin, not problem at all. Okay, but we need to make sure that we cite, we make it as our reference, we mention it in our public speaking session that we cite those sources from any maybe websites, blogs and so on, and then we take careful notes from that particular source, and again we mention that particular source in our session. And then this is just as an additional. You can read further from Lucas' textbook, Guidelines for Ethical Listening. As a public speaker, we also need to listen carefully, not only to our audience in our public speaking session, but also when we are trying to gather information from any other sources. So we need to listen courteously and then attentively. We need to avoid prejudging the speaker, in the sources that we listen to, and also maintain free and open expression of ideas while we are delivering our session. Okay, we might have Q&A session with our audience. So in this particular sense, we need to avoid prejudging our audience ideas, and then we also need to maintain free and also open expression of ideas so that our ideas can flow nicely among the towards the audience, and also the audience's ideas can also flow nicely towards us and also can be shared with any other audience as well. So thank you very much. That's the end of our lecture for this particular topic. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.